Well, plus modern nukes don't have the radiation problem.
So the Holy Grail was, can we undergo fusion in a controlled way, where one day you might be able to throttle it?
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder, saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. I don't need a shield for my thoughts and opinions. If you do not like my take and have a different one, leave it in the comment section. I encourage it. Now, this one's going to be a little bit weird. Instead of starting at the beginning, I'm going to start at the end with a completely different medium than The Simpsons. Not to say that The Simpsons haven't had any great video games, but it's mostly known for the television show, and none of those games got me thinking as much as Spider-Man Miles Morales did. When that game first came out, I decided not to play it at first. Not because I thought the game would be bad or that I wouldn't like it, but because there were a lot more things I wanted to play at the time, and this felt more like a DLC instead of a full game. And I was right for the most part about that one. I did have fun with it though. Miles's powers are a joy to play with, but man, that story was rough. And not the "it's our Spider-Man" content. I don't really care about that. I'm more talking about the generically evil billionaire villain trying to use a code name for nuclear power to make a lot of money at the expense of killing the people of New York, and specifically Harlem, with an unspecified disease, which you kind of really know what they're talking about here. Oh, and during a side mission, a bunch of goons mentioned Chernobyl. Very subtle here, by the way. Top tier. I am super glad the writers did all of the research possible before making this game and writing it. It's not like a simple Google search can prove them wrong or anything. It feels like they got all of their information from the 1980s, but these are also the geniuses that thought Finn would be a beloved character, and I hated her stupid ass the entire time. Oh my god, what are you doing? You're so moronic. You and your group are literally causing the most trouble out of any other faction in this game. Stop it. Just stop it, please. Oh my god, you're so stupid. Can we please go back to Miles' uncle? That was fantastic, but Miles' childhood friend was so bad. I hated her so much.
I hate you!
Never mind the very basic problems with this. The billionaire, played by Troy Baker, big clue that this dude was evil from the start, by the way, has these reactors in his office. He walks through the facilities with the reactors without any protection whatsoever. People are screaming at him that others will get sick. No, dude. You will get sick. You're constantly exposing yourself as we speak. I swear, all of the antagonists were so stupid that it had me groaning every time I had to interact with them or hear their voices or just remember the fact that they exist. This is way different than Mr. Burns, who at least has a memorable personality. The Simpsons is supposed to be a full comedy, a parody of everyday suburban American life. And even then, the evil billionaire in this one makes a lot more sense. He does work in the nuclear power plant. He lives in Springfield, so why would he want to contaminate the place he works and the place he lives? Well, he is going to die soon anyway. He's super old and will die the moment a year passes in this town. These characters have been stuck at the same age for over 30 seasons after all. Way too long. Please, for the love of God, put an end to this.
Just let me die! Let me die in peace!
This is not me simping for billionaires, by the way. I hate Bezos for how Amazon workers are treated. I think Musk is a moron for how he's handled Twitter, and Apple products are constructed under horrific conditions. You know, I say this as I look at Twitter on my iPhone, which was delivered by Amazon. I'm going to be honest that I realize that I'm not a perfect person. I can't morally peacock like the rest of the internet. But I can criticize the writers of the Miles Morales game for being complete morons, and The Simpsons for paving the way with the idea that nuclear power is so dangerous that we need to keep using fossil fuels and poisoning the earth rather than adapting a better form of energy. But you might be saying, hey, love of storytelling, you just mentioned Chernobyl, what about that? Well, that was in 1986 in Ukraine in the Soviet Union. That was 40 years ago with a lot worse technology, a lot worse knowledge, and a lot worse technicians. I get it. I read about it. I watched documentaries. I watched the HBO series on it. That was a great show. I even played a small game based on Chernobyl. It was a tragedy of the highest proportions. But are we going to act like technology is the same now as it is then? That the situation is the same? That one, this wouldn't be the most regulated thing to ever exist ever. That two, people wouldn't keep their eyes on it at all times. And that three, the people hired wouldn't be the most skilled technicians to ever exist. Do you actually think that Homer Simpson will actually be in charge of a reactor? Look, The Simpsons started in a different time when nuclear power was very, 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 very dangerous. Information wasn't readily available at the time. Companies could basically do anything that they wanted and no one would realize it because you could only get your news from one place. In the age of the internet, we can learn basically anything whenever we want to. It's a miracle if something is secret for 5 minutes. We could easily learn that nuclear power isn't as dangerous as it used to be. We can learn that it is in fact the safest, cleanest form of energy that we have available right now. Of course there are dangers if people are stupid, but it's still safer than other forms of energy. Do you know how many different people die from mining coal? Do you know how much space is needed for solar and wind power? Do you know how many times the ocean has been set on fire because of oil? Back in the 90s, I was in a very famous TV... Sorry. The Simpsons was great because it pointed at great truths, because it was a commentary on actual life. It wasn't just a cartoon, it was a phenomenon. It was hilarious, thoughtful, and genre-defining. But that was 2 decades ago. The time where it has become bad has long since passed. Yet it remains exactly the same. The messages remain exactly the same. The characters remain exactly the same. It is a bubble of zero evolution, and it keeps on going because it is a brand name, because it makes money, because people keep watching it. It has literally become what it hated.
By the gods, what have I become?
There is no questioning the reach the Simpsons have. There are few brands as far-reaching as this show that can be both a good and a bad thing. Even without Chernobyl, it made people very, 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 very cautious of nuclear power. But it also closed people's minds to the idea that nuclear power can change, evolve, and become safer, to the point that a bunch of writers released a game in 2020 and made the whole plot about how bad nuclear power is. And I think that is ridiculous. I will leave links in the description, but you should look up more info on it yourself. There are plenty of lectures and papers written on how nuclear power isn't really nuclear anymore. It's changed into the cheapest, cleanest form of energy that we have, and it won't take up too much space. And in America, there is a lot of space. I am not even kidding. In the Midwest alone, there's so much stretch of land that just keeps going and going and going. Now, this might be the first video that I've made that people might claim that I'm being political, but I do not think that this is political. Climate change exists. We are polluting the earth. That should not be political. I refuse to claim that people need to die or that there should be regulation on births or anything. That's stupid. So we need to limit the damage that we cause. Nuclear power is the best we have until we create atmosphere regulators in the future or something like that, which we probably will. Technology is amazing. This will never be a political channel, and I will never be a political commentator. That's not my thing. Alright? Obvious problem, most reasonable solution. We don't need to be screaming and yelling at each other, and we most certainly do not need to be jumping in front of traffic.
I'm an idiot! You're an idiot!
This is why I have such a bug in my ass about stories. In many ways, how people behave and what they believe are dictated by culture, by the stories being told to them. Something as simple as not being homophobic was accomplished by shows like Friends, demonstrating that there's nothing wrong with being a member of the LGBT+ community. It wasn't perfect, but it was a step in the right direction to help us evolve. The past tales should be respected for what they accomplished, but they also need to be respected through the lens of hindsight. The Simpsons is a story from the past that keeps going into the future, and going, and going, and going, and people still believe something that is 20 years out of date. That past is still the present and the future in a lot of ways to different people, to the point that it's ruining not only current fiction but our real world situation. When people hear nuclear power plant, they probably think of Homer Simpson going eeny meeny miny mo. They think of evil billionaires that for some reason don't even care about their own lives over profit. Chernobyl is fortunately a thing of the past that requires so much failure in every conceivable way possible that it almost cannot happen again.
You crazy? Or just plain stupid?
Stupid as stupid does, Mrs. Blue.
I guess.
I expect more from current writers. If you're going to be commenting on a subject, you better do the research on it. If it's a real thing, don't just base everything you know on it from The Simpsons. At the same time, I don't want an overcorrection where no one keeps an eye on nuclear power at all. While I do criticize The Simpsons, I realize that it is a product of the past. The same cannot be said for Miles Morales, so why is everything about it so dumb? I mean, the main villain has special matter-making technology. That's a utopian form of energy right there. Yet, this other form of energy is bad, and yet they can't fix it, and you can't combine these two concepts. And everyone is too selfish and stupid and self-centered to use their amazing science fiction levels of technology to fix all of their problems. And this is what happens when writers use magic and science fiction to comment on real-world issues, but then don't think about the implications that the new sources of energy would have on the world. Just stupid. Oh my god, it's so stupid. You're welcome to disagree with me. That's fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
It's over. Go home.
Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and to continue the discussion in the comment section. And please consider giving my books Above Heaven, Dance of Frozen Death, and Vows of Blood and Honor, which will be released in September, a chance. I appreciate you. Do not despair.